The Blossom VT drama. Blossom VT is an indie VTuber who had their first Twitch stream back on October 4th, 2021, though became an active VTuber around March of 2023. The controversy started on or around June 26, 2026, when community member Darmachi, who is a 16-year-old minor with severe autism at the time of this video's publication, posted a 48-page Google Docie that accused Blossom of being abusive towards him over a fan project collaboration. To go over the timeline of events, Darmachi, who referred to himself as Darren, reached out to Blossom for a fan project promotion, offering to pay her to promote his Pretty Cure fan project, to which the two would reach an agreement and move to Discord for communications, where things would start to get shaky. A common theme that was being depicted was that Blossom would allegedly twist Darren's words to make it seem like he was in the wrong for various things. Darren would apologize for his behavior, to which Blossom would end the partnership and announce it on her Twitter. Darren would ask Blossom about the post and her willingness to offer DMs to others, to which Blossom would double down. After some time passed where, despite Darren's apology, Blossom expressed a desire to go public about the situation and threatened Darren through emphasizing her follower count on Twitter, Darren would make a second apology during a mourning period due to the loss of a family member, which Blossom would essentially pick apart and write his apology for him. When he emphasized that he was still grieving over the loss of a family member, Blossom would still push for the apology to be posted and emphasized her threat of going public. The docu would end with an apology to Darren in DMs, offering to make a public warning about his project instead of forcing him to publicize his apology. Blossom would then post a 53-page response docu on June 28th, claiming that several of Darren's accusations were misleading and/or false. While most of the docu contained screenshots and transcriptions for mobile users, Blossom's response primarily emphasized the lack of professionalism from Darren throughout the short partnership, though would end up apologizing for pressuring and threatening him. General sentiment towards Blossom was very negative after the two documents were released, with many feeling that Blossom threatening a minor is beyond absurd in this situation and just in general. A few days later, on June 30th, after losing around 1,000 followers, Blossom would post a follow-up apology on Twitter, admitting to her actions and her response docu being subpar, and would end up going silent. She has not been active on Twitter or Twitch since of writing the script. A Syndicate update. In a recent video around the beginning of June of 2026, we've gone over a VTuber by the name of Sindictae and the massive document against them, which at the time was roughly around 500 pages containing allegations and evidence of a multitude of things, including but not limited to harassment towards women, violent threats, scamming artists, and grooming a minor. Over the past month since, the document size has more than doubled, with the document now being, as of writing the script, over 1,100 pages, dethroning Cinder's 1,000-page document for biggest Google Docu. The bulk of this document comes from the events that happened in June of 2026, where, after a failed redemption arc attempt, Sindicate continued to attempt to reach out to female VTubers across a multitude of accounts, only to face varying degrees of failures. Some of the more critical events that have occurred since the previous video include, but are definitely not limited to, the following. Sindicate posting old clips showing instances of putting himself in danger to allegedly deflect accountability and manipulate victims and bystanders. Sindicate attempting to remove one of the indie VTuber soccer and sponsors, only to be, to put it lightly, clowned on by a multitude of individuals in the VTuber community. Sindicate getting banned from the official R1999 community server, which is a gacha game that Sindicate frequently references and LARPs to, and perhaps the worst event so far, Sindicate asking for pictures of a victim's quote-unquote prime days in high school. I'll have a link to that victim's video in the description. As of the video's publication, the document continues to be updated on the daily with Syndicate's behaviors and actions. While it doesn't seem like he'll be stopping anytime soon, overall exposure towards Syndicate has been rapidly increasing, and we can only hope that things will improve soon. Though, judging by how things are going right now, it might take a while for any visible improvements to occur. The Momo graduation drama. Momo Tenshi was a member in the VTubing community who drew massive controversy on June 22nd, 2026. The controversy started over a graduation post on Twitter, where Momo announced that they were graduating due to health and financial issues, stating that, quote, "I don't see the point in VTubing anymore if nobody's gonna help me financially." This would draw massive ire from the VTubing community, with many expressing negative sentiment towards them due to the message expressing, "I'm only doing VTubing for the money, and I thought it would be quick money" vibes. 2 days later, Momo would post a formal announcement intended to give a brief history and context behind their account, stating that they initially started VTubing as part of an indie group back in March of 2025, before the group dissolved in February of 2026. They claimed that they initially did have hope as an indie VTuber. However, after watching videos that claimed VTubing was an easy money scheme, they tried to approach VTubing with that scheme as their driving factor, though eventually gave up, which reinforced the larger community's beliefs that Momo was being entitled for thinking that they could receive massive support simply for being a quote-unquote cute VTuber. Momo would then go on to make several more tweets about the situation over the next few days, to no real avail. Momo would even reach out to Sindictae, of all people, claiming that he was one of Momo's idols, which is definitely one of the more odd things out there. In the end, Momo would announce on June 27th that she would restart VTubing in the Japanese community rather than the English community, make a few more replies on the 28th, and then went silent. It's not really clear as to whether Momo is actually restarting as a VTuber or not. As with all my videos, do not harass anyone in or outside of this video.